Did you know that putting certain assets into your living trust could trigger huge tax consequences or maybe even lawsuits? Stick around because today I'm going to reveal the 5 assets you should never put in your living trust. In this video, I'll explain why some of your most valuable assets could create unexpected headaches if they're placed in a trust, and what you should do instead. Trust me, the last one on the list might surprise you. Hi, I'm estate planning attorney Mike Smith with Smith Barid LLC, and I'm one half of the estate planning guys. With decades of experience helping families protect their legacies, I've seen some common estate planning mistakes that you're going to want to avoid. So let me ask you a question. Would you like to save your heirs from unnecessary legal hassles and taxes? I mean, I think we all would. So stay with me because I'm going to break down some estate planning essentials that you need to know to make sure that you help protect your heirs from those unnecessary legal hassles and taxes. And we're going to talk about assets that you just shouldn't put into a living trust if you set one up. The first one that you should not put into your living trust is your vehicle. Here's why. If you include your car, your boat, or your motorcycle in the trust and an accident occurs, the trust could be dragged into a lawsuit. Instead, it's much simpler to transfer ownership after someone passes away just using a death certificate. You just go to the title office with the death certificate, you fill out an affidavit, and they'll transfer the asset. So avoid the risk of putting your vehicles into the trust. You don't want to create a situation where your trust could potentially become a target for a lawsuit. But here's where things get interesting. What if I told you there's another common financial asset that could turn into a tax nightmare if you put it in your trust? What I'm talking about are annuities. Now, annuities already have a built-in beneficiary designation, which means they bypass probate automatically. So you don't need to put them in a trust from a probate avoidance standpoint. But if you move an annuity into your trust, it could trigger a taxable event, and that could cost you a fortune. The best approach is to just keep the annuity out of the trust and let the beneficiary designations do the heavy lifting. Unless you have a situation where a beneficiary couldn't handle the annuity, or you have a special needs beneficiary, or something like that. And there are situations where annuities that are transferred to trust don't trigger those tax consequences. You just need to ask your financial advisor to check with the annuity company and determine if transferring your annuity into the trust is going to trigger a tax consequence. But that's something you need to watch out for. Don't just willy-nilly transfer an annuity into a living trust. So stay with me on this for the next minute, because the next asset I'm about to mention could cost your family thousands of dollars in taxes if it's mishandled. So next up is IRAs and 401ks, any kind of what we call qualified account. These retirement accounts should never go into a trust. IRA means individual retirement arrangement. A trust is not an individual. You destroy the whole purpose of it by transferring it into a trust. And if you transfer it into a trust, it's going to end the tax advantage status for that account, and it's going to be counted as a distribution from the account. So that could trigger a huge tax burden for you in that year when you make the transfer. So the way that your retirement funds should be handled in a trust plan is the beneficiary designations should be updated to coordinate with everything else in your plan. And again, if you have a beneficiary who's special needs or has some sort of reason that you don't want to make a distribution directly to them, then you can name the trust as the beneficiary. There could be some tax consequences to that, so you need to explore that with your estate planning attorney and make sure that you're making the right decision for your circumstances. I always say, don't let the tax tail wag the dog. So not every estate planning decision that you make should be dictated by taxes, but you do need to understand what the ramifications are and make an educated decision about how you're going to handle your particular situation. Now, what I'm going to explain next is crucial. Did you know there's a financial product that most people think belongs in a trust, but placing it there could do more harm than good? That's right. So what I'm talking about is life insurance. life insurance policies already avoid probate. They have beneficiary designations, so placing them in a trust is redundant and it could lead to complications. Now, there's one exception to that. It's what's called an irrevocable life insurance trust, and it is specifically designed to handle life insurance and to help families deal with estate taxes, avoiding estate taxes. But for most people, you probably don't want to put into your living trust. There can be circumstances where you want the trustee to be able to control that policy, and in that circumstance, you would put it into the trust, but those are specifics that need to be discussed with your estate planning attorney. Now, if you're still with me, I guarantee the next asset on the list is not one that you're expecting, and it might be the most important one of all. These are tax-advantaged accounts, including the types of assets we've already discussed, like annuities and retirement accounts. But I just want to reiterate again, and that's why I'm making this number 5 and repeating what I said earlier. Moving any of these assets into a trust can strip away their tax benefits, lead to penalties or additional taxes. So keep these accounts intact with proper beneficiary designations, and we talked about potentially using the trust as a beneficiary on that designation in certain circumstances, but only use the trust for assets that would go through probate without the trust. So things like real estate or businesses, those kinds of things will go through a probate process if you don't have them inside of your living trust. So if you don't handle these tax advantage accounts correctly, your heirs could end up paying more in taxes than you intended. So definitely want to keep those out of your trust. So to wrap it up, we've covered 5 assets that you should never put into your living trust: vehicles, annuities, IRAs, life insurance, and other tax advantaged accounts. Each of these assets requires a specific strategy that's dictated by the particular circumstances of your life, your plan. So whether it's to avoid lawsuits or protect tax advantages or ensure a smooth probate process, you got to consider all those things when you're thinking about these assets and whether they go into a trust or not. If you found this video helpful, be sure to check out our next video. Click the link on the screen to check it out now.